wait is almost over for thousands of fans attending the Mandela 100 Global Citizen Festival. Do you have your ticket yet?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay.
And yeah, it doesn't seem like I'll be able to.
But we've got a plug.
We've got a plug, so
cool.
we can get tickets.
Yeah.
Now, the concert officially kicks off in just a few hours. Key to its mandate is a call to action against social injustice. This is in honor of Nelson Mandela's legacy. Media personality Penny Lebyane is an advocate for the festival.
She's passionate about eradicating hunger in schools, and she's here to tell us more about the work she's been doing. Dumelang Mamosed.
Dumelang le kae?
Good day. I think there's so much hype and excitement around the Global Citizen Festival. For people who don't know really what this is about, what are we talking about essentially?
So we're talking about those people who are in our communities who every day their work is about making life better for other people. We're talking about people like Mampindile Hlalele from the African Children's Feeding Scheme, who feed 10,000 children after school. These are children who are orphans and come from vulnerable homes. We know the impact of HIV in our country, that there are thousands and thousands of children who don't live with their parents because they lost them to HIV and AIDS. And they only get food actually because of the feeding schemes at school. But what happens when they leave school? So Lebyane, for example, gives them a bread with peanut butter, an apple, and a glass of milk. Anybody who grew up in the township will know what Lebyane does. You know, and it's people like that. And there's people who go into communities and help young people understand issues around HIV and AIDS, around access to information and education. And these are regular community workers. Now, the festival has called ordinary people, sometimes like me and you, who don't necessarily do anything, to take an action. Then they have endpoints, and they've won some of themselves tickets. But some of those people who actually do this every day are also going to be there. So it's a coming together of people who do things for other people.
Awesome.
Now, as an advocate for this very important initiative, tell us a bit about the work that you've been doing.
So I work, for example, as I said already, with the African Children Feeding Scheme. I'm part of the activities that they do. I do their annual dinners, for example, and I'm an advocate for that. I've worked, for example, with Love Life as far back as the first generation of advocates for Love Life. Actually, I was part of that. The young people who believed in an AIDS-free generation. And currently, the work that Love Life is trying to do is to say we can't leave the boy child back. So there's another conversation about that. I work with the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. There is a connection between hunger and depression. For example, the African Feeding Scheme recently, Karen Mon actually did a story of a 9-year-old who hanged themselves because they were tired of just dealing with hunger. And those are the children that the African Children Feeding Scheme work with. And SADC, also with depression, I do advocacy work around that as well.
Why was it important to lend your voice to these very important issues that we're talking about? Oftentimes we find that, you know, you will hold this high position in society, but not necessarily use your voice to advocate for others.
So personally, for me, I think I got thrust into broadcasting from a community radio background. So my work really has been about community work. So I do more broadcasts for citizen empowerment, if there's anything like that. But also when you work in the space, you get to understand things like, you know, the Millennium Goals is what we were working on previously until 2015. Now we're talking about the Sustainable Development Goals. And those are issues that affect us every day. I come from Bushbuck Ridge. My grandmother still doesn't have access to water. Some of my cousins who go to school in the village, they still use, you know, those drop toilets. And that's the reality of our country. I went to a mud school when I was growing up, and I would like to see other kids, you know, who experience a different situation later on in life. So it will need voices like myself, like yourself, and others to say things need to change. And of course, we have to hold our politicians accountable. But more than anything else, the power is in our hands. We can actually make things happen. We can bring the change.
Now, Penny, how has the public responded to this campaign or this initiative? Have people responded in large numbers to the call for action?
I think the response has been great, you know, from like a social media perspective. We've seen a lot of young people taking part. There's a Global Citizen app that we know calling on young people to take action. But more than anything else, it was about understanding what these policies are about. Because sometimes policy can be lost in translation. It's like there's policy workers, there's politicians, it ends there,
and
it never gets to the ground. But like now, to create that connect, especially with young people, social media has been very important. But we've seen them take action. We've seen them go clean up up the streets. We've seen them plant vegetable gardens. We've seen them trying to teach others, mathematics and science and arts and all sorts of other activities. Then there's been those who've been thinking it's just about Beyonce, Ed Sheeran, Wizkid, Casper Nyovest, Usher, and then they realize, oh, you can't actually buy the ticket. Oh, you actually really needed to do the action.
And that's just it, right? The call to action to say, even you're a global citizen. This is not just something that says it's about other people and not you.
Definitely. And I think that's really what the legacy of Nelson Mandela is all about. It's like, yes, you are a South African. Yes, you come from your tribe. Yes, you have your heritage. But your contribution is bigger than who you are and where you come from. And then I think, when he says it falls upon a generation, is that message has to continue. That in your generation, how do you see yourself contributing? And the butterfly effect, that's what I believe in. It's like small acts of kindness that will impact others in a great way.
Yeah, small acts of kindness.
Small acts of kindness. So with the much anticipated concert happening tonight, does this initiative end today, or how can people take it forward?
So, I'm not the official spokesperson for Global Citizen, but I know that Global Citizen is going to continue to do work in South Africa going forward. Because why South Africa is one of the most exciting places in the world. And, we've got a rich history, and we can contribute to making the world a better place. So, the concert happens, and I think that I understand that the idea is after the concert, there's a mind shift of some sort. I spoke about how I got into radio through community radio. Volunteerism is something that actually we can see more of. One, it'll help young people learn extra skills. It'll help you create relationships that will last you long life into your own career. But more than anything else, you can actually change things rather than say the government should, the politicians should, the adults should. It should be, what am I doing? Whether it's gathering 10 kids and teaching them how to dance, teaching them how to read, teaching them how to write, teaching them a skill, doing hair, making clothes, that's still something.
You can't pass on the responsibility to somebody else. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was so lovely to see you.
You guys are not coming to the concert?
We did, well, our acts of kindness were like, we'll discuss that offline.
But I know you guys will be carrying it live, and then, it's also going to be broadcast in over 130 countries around the world. So the whole world's eyes are back on South Africa again. So can we please put on a good show?
No doubt we will. We always do. Media personality and global citizen advocate, Ms. Penny Lebyane.